So what we have this saying is that the little baby is in a good dependency with its mom and dad, or whoever is raising it. The little baby needs attachment, or it needs love, because its seed hasn't grown. Just like the apple seed is dependent on the earth, the sun, and the water. So a good dependency leads to a good independency. And what is the definition of a good dependency? If you put the apple seed on the freeway, that's not a good dependency, because the freeway does not have what it needs to nourish the seed, does it? What is a good dependency? A mommy who loves herself. That would be a good dependency. She's on full. She shares from her fullness with the baby, and the baby grows up heading towards fullness. This is so important. I explained this today, not an hour ago. If a mommy gets her love from God, from whence she came, and she has the baby, and she gives her love to the baby, as the years go by, that baby will become independent from the mommy, and the baby will hook up to God, just like the mother. Whereas if the mother gets her love from her husband, and that's her major source of love, that baby will grow up dependent on humans for love. If the mother's really sick and she gets her love from food, sex, and drugs, the baby will grow up getting his love from food, sex, and drugs. Just like the baby grows up speaking the very same language that you speak, with the very same accent. Now, I have a patient now who is one of the leading scientists in America on voice recognition. He says the time will come now in the next few years when you could call your bank, the airline, and they'll say, "Hello, Mr. Ellsworth." Right? They don't know your number, your nothing, just from your voice. So babies copy where the mother. If the mother's on empty, the baby will grow up empty. Well, you see why it's so important. Good dependencies lead to good independencies, and bad dependencies, what would be a bad dependency? The mommy is not hooked up to her source, her real self, to God. She doesn't get her love from God or herself. She wants to get it from the baby. Now, should the mommy nurse the baby or suck the baby? You know, kid will die, right? So there's so many things in the world that have parallels. The externals are parallel to the internals. So a baby is weaned from the mother's breast. As it gets older, it'll get weaned from the mother. As it gets older, it'll get weaned from human beings and hooked up to its source. Spirit parents, more important than body parents, but they won't if the body parents are empty and stuck themselves. And so, this is the nurture part of this seed. Good dependencies lead to good independencies. Bad dependencies lead to chronic dependencies. What is a chronic dependency? A boy who can't leave his mommy. He has committophobia. He can't commit to a woman. Later on, we're going to talk about, we have a handout here about the stages of childhood. And one of them is, if this is interrupted in a child, he or she will never be able to commit to another human being. Okay? How many of you know people that can't? Well, no, it means without therapy, without counseling, without changing, without finding out, without being converted to a love source. It will. We don't mean never. We mean for a long, long time. But there are people who never in their whole lives will be able to commit.
Well, I'm just asking, how can you fix something? Because personally, I had a little boy, he's 2.5 years old.
Okay, before you came, we said that we're making tapes, And we would ask questions, but we wouldn't bring up our personal examples because we're making these tapes.
Oh.
So your question is great, and I'm going to repeat it. How can you get fixed, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's the whole purpose of this class. And we can't tell you tonight. All we can say is good love supplies can fix you. Good love supplies can come through therapy, through counseling, through a good friendship, through good working with whoever can help you, through finding God, through so many ways. It can come through a good job that actualizes your identity. So we're going to get to that. So don't miss any classes, and you'll get the full answer to your question.
Well, it was kind of the other way around. I wanted to fix a mistake I did to my child.
That's good. I'll show you exactly how to do that. And we'll pass out a piece of paper with human love supplies on it. And if you look at it, you'll say, oh, I don't think I gave my child number 3. Oh, I know I didn't give her number 4. And I never did number 1. And you'll be able to start seeing, hey, I could start listening to this child a little better. And she wouldn't be so mad at me. Because kids come packed into the seed. They know what they need. Why do they go? They know they need number 3 love supply, which is physical affection. They know better than us. And especially if we are mutated parents, we don't know what they want. Sometimes we do because we know what we want. We're going to talk about a way where you can go back in time and do visualizations, find your own little girl of the past, and give her the right love supplies. So that's a very good question because it shows us, does a child know what it needs in the way of nurturance? Yes. But you can brainwash them away from that so the day will come when they don't need any more. They think they need more sex. Some of you may have husbands like that. That doesn't help anything. See? And so they think they need more food or more wine or more money or a higher position in the company or at church. That's not what they need. They're brainwashed. They've been taught by sick people that they need something they don't need. And it won't help them at all. Erich Fromm, one of our greatest psychologists, once said, sex without true love will eventually estrange 2 people. You know the word estrange? Make them into strangers. Because non-relationship sex is the country's #1 love substitute right now. Pornography use is the #1 cause of divorce these days. Non-relationship sex, which the whole world doesn't even know the difference. Anyway, let's not get off the track. We're back on dependency. The little kid doesn't even know how to make love yet, right? So, bad dependencies cause chronic dependencies. A little baby who doesn't want to leave its mommy. You can see babies who will go to almost anybody. And then you can see babies, no. And that's a sign that this is in trouble. This one thing here is in trouble. Let's go to the E. Now, you all have a handout now. We're on emotional. You got your handouts? Thank you, Jean. Oh, put in dependency if we left one out. Yeah, she forgot it. Goes right in there. It's okay. They can write their own. Don't be, yeah. Okay, so any questions about the dependency thing? Okay, into emotional. Little children are emotional, and we call this feeling-oriented as opposed to task-oriented. So I'll tell you a little quick story. A little girl is riding her bike out in front of the house. It's a gravel road. It has a curve in it. She goes around the curve too fast. The bike slips out from under her. She cuts her knee and comes screaming in the house, blood dripping down. Now, if her mother is an emotional-oriented person and she's feeling-oriented, the mother will say, oh, it hurts like anything, doesn't it? She holds her. She remembers when she fell down on her bike. Go ahead and cry, honey. It'll make you feel lots better. Scream your guts out because this mommy knows that crying is good. Jesus taught us to cry, right? God intended for us to celebrate our intense emotions. And crying is the way that's good. So if we shame crying, then the child will hold it inside and start getting mad or have nervous tics or wet the bed or ulcerative colitis. So crying is good. This mother is feeling oriented. She honors the feelings of the little child. And pretty soon, the child goes, runs back out, gets on the bike. Maybe they have some of these fancy Band-Aids all over her. Now, suppose the mother, her identity has been smashed, crushed, raped. She's not feeling anymore. She gets out her finger and says, Cindy, why did you go around that track so fast? You could be killed, you know. Now look at your bike. You wait till your father comes home. Now we have to take you to the emergency room. That will cost us $800. Why don't you slow down? Right? That is a task-oriented woman. Called a performance idiot, right? The kid will cry all the louder. And the mother might even say, stop your crying or I'll give you something to cry. We got it memorized, don't we? And the little girl will then be brainwashed away from her center. See, healthy people love what's inside of them. And when people treat them like that, they can't focus on their insides anymore. They focus on the bike and the money and the blood and the stitches and the emergency room and mom's anger or her fear. They can't feel their own feelings. And that's why lots of people they don't hear themselves. They can't listen to their guts. They don't know their body signals and their intuitions. They can't get any revelation from their source because all their feelings have been raped. And instead of paying attention to their insides, they have to watch out for these people all around who are going to crush their insides. And they're very, very task-oriented instead of feeling-oriented. And we call that external people versus internal people. Spiritual people are internal. They feel their feelings because their feelings haven't been smashed by some external person that worships performances and appearances. I had a little girl once who told me she went away to visit her father because she lived with her stepfather, and while she was away, they took a family portrait. When she came home, she saw them all. Well, what about me? Eh? And, well, you're a stepkid. And besides, you don't look as good as the other kid. What is she teaching that little kid? Focus on the outsides. Be Miss America. Something's wrong with you because you weren't born to us, right? Any stepchildren here? I was a step. It can really hurt you if you don't want. Any adopted children? Okay. So emotions are very important. The little baby is born open. Let's write down 3 ways to be open. Emotional openness, verbal openness, and physical openness. Emotionally open means what I've just talked about. The little kid cries, she jumps, she screams, she yells, she smiles, she's excited. That's emotional openness. It's a feeling sort of openness. Verbal openness means as the child grows older, she says her feelings in words. Lots of people don't say how they really feel anymore. They have what we call tact and shiny words. So, because they're in charge of everyone's, or lying even. Oh no, I like your dress, Yeah. See? So we're raised up not to show our true feelings with words. Now that doesn't mean you should go around and hurt everyone's feeling, but it doesn't mean that you should lie. Now, word, and then the last one is physical openness, right? Like I can show my love for Peggy by touching her because we're real close. And she doesn't care. Now, if I didn't know her, I'd say, do you mind if I touch her? Yeah, no, not her. So physical openness is something we have to watch out for in this world because of the use of sex as a love substitute. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't be so afraid. But little children don't know about that, and they're physically open. That's why they reach out. Now, how many of you may have come from a home where people didn't hug you very much and they weren't affectionate? You're going to have trouble with hugs. See? So, emotional openness, 3 kinds: emotional, verbal, and then physical. So, the little child, for that seed to develop, needs all 3 kinds of openness. Was Jesus, for instance, was he open emotionally, verbally? Yes. Physically? Yes. So, and here's the next one. So that seed's got to be nourished. What's this one, Gene? Resilience. Now, this is a very important trait. Resilience means thick skin. How many have ever noticed puppy dogs that keep coming to their master over and over, even though he kicks them? And little kids, for 2 years, 3 even, they will keep seeking your love, even though they never get it. But finally, along about 2, 3, 4, they'll stop. They'll go out and try and get it elsewhere with their friends, and especially as they get older. Peers mean everything, right? So little kids have a thick skin. They keep trying. They keep trying to get the love that their seed demands. Do you see? Resilience, ability to bounce back. Courageous, behavior, flexibility, adventurous, survive. This is survival skill. Like shyness is a survival skill. How many in here have ever been shy, besides me? Okay. Why did we do that? What was the payoff? You don't get hurt as much as if you shut up. Then people won't make fun of you. And it works. Until you're 15, 16, 17, no one ever wants to hang out with you anymore because they have to pull hen's teeth to get you to talk. Hey, no one's taking me out. Hey, no. So then you trade it. How many used to be shy and when you were 16 you got unshy? Right. Okay, so resilience is the little child's tenacity, relentless attempts to get love supplies. And finally, when it's just not going to work, they go to something else. Food, sex, drugs, straight A's, being Miss Utah. Right? Or games. I don't have any butter on my bread. That's called poor me. Why doesn't she say, please pass the butter? So all sorts of things are used by the child in an attempt to survive in a loveless world. Just like an apple seed or a plant will mutate. You can plant plants in all sorts of conditions. How many have ever seen trees growing out of rocks and put in seeds and carrots upside down and bonsai? And seeds are just like people. They'll mutate 1,000 different ways in order to get through life and to survive and get at least a little love. It's from everybody, but it starts out with the mother. She asks, is it from the mother or the father? Well, the baby only sees the mom first. Do you know that for the first hour of birth, there's a beautiful book. It's in our book list, which Peggy ran off. It's called Bonding. The baby gazes at the mother for 45 minutes out of the first hour of its birth. It's called prolonged gazing. Can you remember when you were little and you stared at someone and your mom says, don't stare? And you were taught that it was wicked to stare at somebody. They're curious. That goes with the first trait, wonder and awe. They love to stare. Now, if someone stares at you, you'll look, am I unzipped? What? You won't know that they're stuck back in this first stage and they're still, hi. Once a little kid told me in a session, Dr. Ellsworth, he got up real close to me. Do you know people are naked under their clothes? Timmy! I I'm so glad you've discovered that. You won't be a porn freak, I hope. So little kids are wonderful. He's discovered that, right? Okay, now F is for free play. See, John Bradshaw couldn't get one for P because kids love to play. Their play is their work, and their work is the play. In fact, in the back of our book, it has the last chapter, which is a summary of the whole book by little one-liner quotes. It's called Sterling Quotes, chapter 8. And in there it says, healthy people play at life, and sick people work at life. We all have to work. I know. But you could loving what you do and doing what you love. That's what it's supposed to be. A job, a career is supposed to be a celebration of your true identity. Eric Fromm used to say, all people are actualized through work and love. And so, I added, everyone needs a soulmate and a job mate. This is where all the women raise their hand. How come we get stuck with the kids and the man gets to... Okay, free play. Little kids play, and it's a job of theirs. What do they do when they play? Have you ever watched your children play? What are they doing? They're learning some very important things about life. I watched my grandkids on the tricky bars last night. And they were learning what to do and what not to do. And they're learning about gravity. And they're learning about wet steel bars. And they're learning about being hit on the swing with somebody. Hurts like anything, right? And their play is really learning. So never stop a child from play. Now, should you let them then play Jackson in the freeway? No. He could be seriously killed. So, free play. Let's talk about free. I remember I used to love to play baseball until high school when we ran into the baseball coach. And what did he do with the fun game of baseball? He turned it into work. And he made us. And he got mad if we didn't get on base. You're pitching junk, Ellsworth. Right? And he didn't say junk either. He didn't know that word. And so play wasn't free anymore. It turned into work. That's why some kids hate athletics. Okay, U is for unique. We already talked about that. No two kids alike. No hairs of your head alike. No two arms alike. No two fingers. Kids want to be unique. And when I was a little boy, it was customary to dress twins alike and to name them Shirley and Whirly, Puffy and Wuffy, Gene and John, Sterling and Stanford, and to dress us alike. And so as we got older, we would stop at the neighbor boy's house who walked with us to school, take off our shirt, put on one of his, and go to school. Why would we do that? We didn't want to be the twins. We wanted to be us. I remember once saying to one of the grandkids, "Do you look like your mom or your dad?" And he went, "I look like myself, that's who." See, little kids, no, they don't want to be the twins. And that's why it's very important to honor their feelings. You want to wear this, fine. You like purple together with orange, wear it. You'll only do it for one day. Anyway, kids want to be unique. Now, suppose they want to hit their brother in the nose to see the blood come out. No, you don't allow that. You'll see why. Okay, unique. And what's the L for? Loving, right? Little kids are loving because they come from God, who is love. The Bible says repeatedly, God is love. He who dwelleth in God dwelleth in love. And he who dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, because that's the source of true love. And that's why in our book we have a big section on love supplies from God, because good counseling leads people to their own higher power. We'll get to that. So loving. Now, there's some things that belong on this list that I want you to add it by your own hand that come from other psychologists' lists. And there's a word called zest. and vitality and enthusiasm that adults don't have, especially as we get older. One lady said to me, "I'm not old, I'm just tired." So the zest and the vitality and the enthusiasm and the energy of little children needs to remain in us as we grow older. So healthy people still like to play, and healthy people love little kids. And I can go visit my kids, and I'll spend more time with the grandchildren than the kids. Because they talk about things that don't matter to me, but little children are still open, pure, real, right? So think about this list of what's packed into the identity seed of a little child. And then you might want to think about what's happened to my traits, these 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 traits. Am I still a little girl grown tall? Or have I crossed these identity traits out and they're not in me anymore? Have I mutated? So that's why we want to talk about the human identity seed and what's packed in there. And there's a little drawing that I want to tell you about. This rectangle would represent your humanness, your human identity as a child of God with great strength, as a human being. You're the real me, the spirit self that's going to come out of your body and came into your body when you were born and will come out of your body when you're gone. And that isn't just a religious teaching. Nowadays, with the near-death experiences, we have scientific evidence that this self comes out of your body and it has certain things that it does. We'll show those to you in just a minute. Now, on this foundation of humanness, we build, excuse me, femininity or masculinity, right? And so I'm a psychologist, but psychology has 25 or 30 different divisions. So the basis of general psychology, I have the therapy, counseling specialty. So that's a specialty, that's the foundation. Being a female is a special kind of human being. Being a male is a special kind of human being. And the same in your job field. Being a mother is a special kind of human being. Being a grandma is a special kind of human being. And on and on. So remember your identity, the foundation of your being is your humanness. And it has those traits in it and many more things which we're going to talk about. So, say that a person gets all of her worth from being a very beautiful female or a very handsome or rich male. Okay? Which building would you rather work in? One like this or one with this little skinny foundation and this great big huge, this is insecure. It's going to fall. It's precarious. And there's a lot of people like that. What will happen to a woman who gets all of her worth from her beauty and her youth? What will happen as we get older? Peggy, Jean, Sterling, what's going to happen to, yeah, the old gray mare, she ain't what she used to be, and neither is the stallion, right? You're going to lose it because it won't last. Gordon B. Hinckley says, the spirit goes up and the body goes down with age. And so have a lot of other great philosophers. As we grow older, the body goes down and the insides go up. So, but they aren't going to go up if you hate your body to go down and you're losing all your happiness and joy because you can't walk very good or you don't have a great figure anymore or blah, 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 right? So remember, humanness is your foundation, not some external. Let's define those terms right now, external and internal. External means outsides, of course, and specifically, we're talking about our performances and our appearance of our body. So people whose worth and their love and their claim to fame comes from their great performance or their great beauty. See? I know a guy who was in an accident and he's really buffed out. And how do you get buffed out? You pump iron. And he can't. He's in a wheelchair now. He can't work out. And he's having serious depression. I wonder why. His worth is in his appearance. Or an athlete whose worth is in their performance. Or a person, the first patient I ever had was a girl that jumped off a bridge into traffic because she got a B in Russian at Michigan State University. It's the first B she ever had. Where did she get her worth? Grades. And so her life was of no worth to her because her performance, she now has a B. Isn't that crazy? Suicide is up 500% in teenagers. Why? Because their worth doesn't come from their insides, it comes from their outsides. My boyfriend dumped me. I'm not worth living. Right? That's an external. It's a performance based on appearance, and so and on and on and on. What is an internal? An internal is the real you. It's generally shown in deep feelings, yearnings, goals, spirituality instead of physicality, right? Internals. Things that are you see in the little baby until they're brainwashed out of the little baby. Okay, so an externally oriented is a task-oriented, performance-oriented, appearance-oriented, like in the story of the girl with the blood from her bike wreck. An internal person would be a feeling-oriented person, intuition-oriented. Hey, wait, ask yourself how you feel inside. Well, I feel like ripping her heart out. Go deeper. Would you like someone to rip your heart out? No. Well, how deeply can you go? Well, I pity her. I feel sorry for her. I don't want to rip her heart out. Let her steal my boyfriend. He'll go. I don't want him. Right? Go deeper, and you'll see way deep down, you'll see the good stuff from the real self. Later on, you're going to see a diagram on this board and in the book that looks something like this. You have a little circle in the middle, which is your real self, your feeling-oriented self, or your seed. And then you have a negative self or a false self, which has pain under it and then covers. And this is the negative self or the fake self. And lots of people have a big fake self because their little seed never got nourished. Now, if your seed got nourished, your real self or your spirit self or your intuitive self will be big like this. You'll have a pain layer here, and you'll have a few games or covers, which are survival skills. Your negative self would be 20%. Your positive self would be 80%. Right here, your positive only grew 20. Your negative is 80. So remember this, and as we go along in the nurturance. Now, the nature stuff we've talked a little bit about here. In psychology, of course, and courses like this, we're going to focus on the nurturance. Why? Because we can't do much about the nature. It comes from a previous dimension or a previous life. And you know, lots of religious systems believe in a previous life. How many of you have ever heard the term karma from the Buddhist solicit? Karma is pre-chosen adversity. I read this in a Buddhist book. And in a prior dimension or a prior life, they say, we chose certain adversity forms, success and struggles, and it's called karma. How many of you can learn from successes you've had? How many can learn from failures you've had? And so that's our karma, right? And then, of course, we have in our own system, one of the prophets saying, "Oh, how amazed we will be when we die and the veil is taken from our eyes to see that no amount of suffering was wasted. Our suffering was chosen to strengthen certain weaknesses we had before we came." Oh! One guy heard that and he said, "I think I'll call my wife Karma."
Nasty.
And she said, ditto, buddy. You ain't no picnic to live with. So he felt that his wife was given him to develop patience and long-suffering. And she felt exactly the same, right? So we have a saying, no pain, no gain, right? Or some pain, some gain. And so we learn. We're in a giant school, 80-year school. And there are several things we learn from. One is our body. Another thing we learn from is the people around us, healthy or well. So we learn from positives and negatives. There must needs be opposition in all things. Now,